The only person really that can commit that sin is God's elect. We're God's elect. You're the only one can commit it. And because you're the only one that's going to be hauled up before him. He's going to tell you anywhere. God's elect. He said he might have to shorten the time because this guy going to be so smooth. Satan going to be so smooth. If it were possible, he would even convince the very elect. Let's keep reading here. Now look. And when they bring you into the synagogue and the magistrates and powers, see, take no thought how or what things you shall answer or what you shall say. Why? For the Holy Spirit shall teach you in that same hour what you ought to say. Notice the structure of it. Double check it. What you ought to say. Meaning God still will not override your will. You know, some of us kind of mad at old Satan right now. He just done some things we didn't like. And we understand enough of the word to know that we do have power and authority over him. Luke 10:18 tell you that. He can in no wise hurt us. A lot of people don't read it, but they don't believe, but that's true. And one of the company said unto him, Master, speak to my brother that he divided the inheritance with me. Now Jesus is going to say, whoa. And he said unto him, man, who made me a judge or a divider over you? Question. Now we're going to assume that any other way. Either he was not one of his elect, or Jesus letting you know my time to judge, not now. See what I'm saying? I haven't paid for it. See what I'm saying? So I got to pay for it, and I'm the only righteous judge. All judgment belongs to God. And he said unto them, take heed and beware of what? Covetousness or self-will. Probably one of the most, we might get there today a little bit in the sermon. I'm not sure I'll get there today. But we might get there as a part of what God has put. James, the 4th chapter. The worst thing in these clay pots that we can be is self-serve. One of the greatest self-serve is coveting things. I'm not wanting it necessarily because I really need it. I want it because I want it. See what I'm saying? That's how life is. And if we don't manage that through the Spirit, because we should surrender that, because what did God say? Take no thought over there, but I also told you take no thought for tomorrow. For tomorrow, take care of yourself. I know what you have need of, what? Even before you ask. So there's no need of us getting upset. Plus, then I done gave you an absolute word from me. Delight yourself in me. I'll give you the desires of your heart. Case closed, over, out, and that's it. So there's no need for you to covet. And what happens if someone in the church is being blessed or whatever, either way, when you try to flip it on somebody, well, I want what they got, or they seem like they're going through, I know I got to be better than them. See, I mean, stuff like God said, you can't judge anyone. That's me. I told him, man, how can I judge between you and your brother? See what I'm saying? Yet he knew everything, but at that time it was not the time. Take heed and beware of covetousness, for a man's life consists not in the abundancy of the things where he possesseth. Now, if some folks, Bible thumpers, those that say, we're supposed to be poor. That's not what that says. Didn't say you couldn't have anything. He said, don't let it have you. In other words, don't you covet it. Don't you be self-serving with it. If I bless you with something, I expect you to be that conduit. If you see your brother need something and you close up your bowels of compassion, how can you say to me that the love of God is in you? And plus, I'm not going to let anybody make no fool out of you or me. If I don't want you to give it, I will give you that unction. Saying, mm-mm. And all you have to do is what? Be obedient, because that's training. Because you're going to have to one day listen to that unction when you're in front of the synagogue of Satan, when he's talking all sweet, peaceably and prosperously, one world currency. All that stuff is in Revelation. We might can't do it all in. And listen now, and he spake a parable unto them, saying, the ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentiful. And he thought within himself, saying, what shall I do? Now, we preached about this. Because I have no room where to bestow my fruits. Now, he's been blessed. He ain't give God no credit and saying, I ain't giving nobody else nothing either. Look what he said. What shall I do? Totally exclude God. Babies, when God bless you, that's the worst thing you can do, is just exclude him out of the equation. We might cover a little bit in James today, because he said we ought to ask him if we should do this or that. Most of the time when we get a little money in the pocket or something, we think, hey, we got this promotion, we did it. No, because we know in Psalm 75, promotion comes not from the east, from the west, comes from the Lord. And he said, this will I do. Bad news bears right there. That's McDaniel. I will pull down my barns. Now he brought low down God's food chain. I don't mean that, well, he had enough word to eat. Because you know about Brother Nebuchadnezzar talking about that same mess. Look at my city. Look what I did. What a God made him look like a dog. He didn't do that. God was using him to chastise his people because they were being knuckleheads. That's McDaniel saying that. Don't say God. And what he's saying now, wait a minute. Don't talk about what you're going to do. Really, what can we really do? Nothing. He said that. John 15. That's not me, you and me, but how many you can do nothing. Now listen. Lord, have mercy. This will I do. I will pull down my barns and build greater, and there will I bestow all my fruit and my goods. Now that's what? Self-gratification. Lock, stock, and barrel. He's not thinking about anybody but himself. He ain't mentioned none of the laborers. And during that time, like especially around when David and some of the people that used to help the farmers out, they were mercenaries. They would cover them crops, and then they expect you to kind of kick them out a little bit. You know, Nabal, if you know anything about that, when David was coming at Nabal, because they took care of his property, didn't let nobody scavenge it, and they took his wife to save him. Because Nabal means food. You know what I'm saying? And y'all ready to get on what I'm talking about now? All right, I just want to make sure I ain't making this up. And look what he said. Now this where he really done jumped to it now. He done talked about his flesh, what I'm going to do. And he said, shucks, I got to take this thing to the next level. How many of y'all done heard that little statement? And I will say to my soul, uh-oh. Is it Ezekiel 4 and 18, I think, or 18 and 4. All souls are mine. If you find it, I'll get them mixed up. I think it's 4 and 18. I think it's 18 and 4. All souls are mine, but the soul that sinneth shall die. So he ain't got no business, you or me, have any business, beloved, saying my soul. What I'm going to do with my soul. I've heard people say, well, I got to wait till I get my soul right. He already owns you. He already knows what's in you. All he says, I paid the price, accept the gift, come on home. But now, that's up to you. Lord, I say to myself, soul. Now notice now, that soul is capital. Meaning you done jump from fat mouthing into God's territory. See what I'm saying? You don't own that soul. I don't own my soul. You don't own yours. That's why Paul says, I am a prisoner for Christ. Man, I surrendered my will. Any of you don't understand what I'm, you have to tell you when to get up, tell you when to go to bed, tell you when to eat, tell you when to, whatever, when you can go out and exercise. In other words, he's using that as an example that we must be the same way. He tells us what to do, and all we have to do is be obedient. Don't blaspheme. See, that's training so that you don't do that. Now listen to this. So thou hast much good. Lord have mercy. He didn't forget about Jesus coming back again. He done kicked all that out the window. All he thinking about what is himself. And had much goods laid up for many years. Got it going. Man cannot work out his own salvation. You cannot do it. Well, but it said over there, work out your salvation with fear and trembling. Break it down. Live by my commandments. Okay? And that will help you to work out your salvation with fear and trembling. In other words, fear and trembling mean respect and utter adoration to God. Now, when you really like something, have you seen when folks get around their little stars, oh, and just get the trembling, and they just fall all out, and they fall out. We understand that. God said you should be so enamored with me. You respect me, and the mere fact that you're my child, it ought to just make you tremble to know the magnitude of my power, what I've done in your life. Can anyone take that from you? Oh, somebody help me shout. Isn't that all? See, it might go many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. See, everybody thinks existentialism, if you've ever studied in any college, came from man's interpretation. But the very basic statement of their doctrine says, eat, drink, and be merry. For today you're going, tomorrow you're going to die. And that, if anybody studied any psychology, you know what I'm talking about, or any, whatever that stuff, Platoisms and all them isms, you see what I mean? They think a man comes up with that. But whether he acknowledges it or not, it comes directly from God's word. Because this is what this guy tried to, I'm going to eat, drink, and be merry. You see what I'm saying? And to show you that can happen, as I was looking at this movie, I said, Lord, I won't go sound. He kept me right on it. It was a man and his son. His son had grew up to be a very smart man. He called his daddy. His daddy was an alcoholic. Had been off the wagon for 38 years. 38 years. I could do something with that, but I hate. And when his son told him about what was going to happen, you see what I'm saying? He said, I guess I'll go, give me a drink. See, you can respond to the end time one way or another. Okay, he got him a drink. He had been sober, clear-minded, had love for his son. And when he was drunk, him and his son couldn't get along. They got on the phone talking about love, but he got back. He had a choice, and he made that. Now, you and I can look at and see, if you really look, there's a lot of symbolism in there. That's why you got to be careful. Because they call all them ships they was on arks. Anybody seen the movie know what I'm talking about? I said, boy, the devil a booger. He just do enough to turn that thing around. He had it all laid out. But everything was man-centered. Man did it. Man did it. Man, no, we can't do that. Lord have mercy. But God said, listen, now that's what's going to count. But God said. Now who can get by that? Hey, and God said, let there be light. What happened? There was some light. But God said unto him, very personal, thou fool. That means he's devoid of God. Now when you look at that word, it's moranis. That's the one thing God, there's another pretty bad thing you can say is to call somebody moranis or fool. And when you do that, not just the word fool, but the word, moronous, or your thoughts are, you just calling that person a fool. You see what I'm saying? He said, no, no, no. That's on, God can only one can absolutely